as a codicil propriety. So I think that is noted, Prof, in terms of intellectual property rights vis-a-vis our commitment to the commons and to knowledge as a public good. How we manage that might require being revisited. Yes, Abia?
As long as we back to knowledge, I'm sorry, but in Article 26 about this knowledge for community, can we add something about hate speech? So when we are disseminating our knowledge, that doesn't mean to beyond academic journals and magazines. And think about reparation, because this is an issue now.
Hate speech, I think that is. Back to chapter A7, discrimination and other kinds of prejudice. Is there any comment on that? No. Chapter A8, application to private universities and other institutions of like nature. I'm sure that satisfies the AAU Secretary General. Yeah. Because in your address, you raised that point. Yeah, thank you very much. Any other thoughts, comments on private universities? Yes, I see somebody at the far end.
Prof, it's not about the private universities as such. I don't have any comment on the private universities. But it's a general comment.
Okay, so let's finish this and then I'll come back to you. And then A9, obligations of institutions of higher education and like institutions.
It suggests establishing a global reparation fund managed by Africa and the diaspora representative, focus on historical justice, sustainable development, and Afrocentricity education, cultural preservation and the strengthening of African economy and survive. Thank you.
It's a proposal. Thank you very much. That is noted. Moshid, après Moshid.
Moi je vais revenir, si vous le permettez, sur cette histoire d'université privée, juste avant.
Okay.
J'ai oublié de mettre ça dans mes commentaires écrits.
Okay.
En fait, aujourd'hui, en Afrique, on n'a pas des universités publiques et les universités privées. Il y a les universités publiques, les universités privées et les universités privées à but non lucratif, notamment les universités gérées par des fondations. Ça veut dire qu'ils ne visent pas de profit. Je pense que l'on peut faire la distinction entre les trois. Et par rapport aux universités et établissements privés, je sens que dans le document, il y a une certaine contradiction. Parce qu'au début, on avait dénoncé la marchandisation, la privatisation, etc. Et puis vers la fin, on est revenu pour intégrer les institutions que l'on a d'une manière ou d'une autre dénoncées pour leur appliquer le même règlement. Juste si l'on peut trouver des compromis pour que cette contradiction n'apparaisse pas pour un lecteur averti. Merci.
OK, merci beaucoup. So, nuancing the definition of the private universities and also ensuring that the preamble against marketization is consistent with the application that we call to be made to the private universities. That we should manage that properly. Thank you, Moshid.
Monsieur le Président, juste,
Georges.
il a attiré juste l'attention par rapport à l'article 38 là,
Mhm.
que ici qu'on a dit que les établissements ont l'obligation de respecter, alors qu'on disait plus haut que c'était
Oui.
juste pour...
OK, oui, c'est bien noté.
D'accord.
Oui. Penda, comme membre du comité.
J'interviens par rapport à monsieur. Je ne sais pas comment des privés peuvent gérer à leur propre compte des universités. Je comprends que les fondations privées aident des universités publiques ou aident la prise en charge d'étudiants démunis qui ont des difficultés ou donnent des prix ou interviennent, mais sous le contrôle de l'État et des universités privées. Je ne comprends pas comment qu'il puisse y avoir existé des privés en marge de l'État pour avoir leur propre intervention dans le domaine de l'éducation. Par contre, quelque chose qui est en Afrique et que je vois au Sénégal, que je trouve dommageable, c'est que toutes les formes d'impérialisme interviennent dans l'éducation. Et que le fait d'avoir, par exemple, les Chinois, les Turcs, les Espagnols, chacun vient avec sa fondation, son institut, ses cours. Ça, il faudra y mettre un terme. Parce que si nous voulons construire un citoyen, par exemple, le mot sénégalensis, il faut qu'il y ait un contrôle du Sénégal et de l'orientation et de la vision de l'État sur justement cela. Ça, c'est une question qu'il faudra absolument régler. Merci.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Important observation. Okay, thank you very much indeed. We've come to the end of the review. Did you want to say?
Just one thing that I miss out here is maybe responsibilities of intellectuals beyond observing that their rights are not violated. I thought that yesterday, one thing that I thought was important was each intellectual, each academic to play an advocacy role and lobbying. It doesn't matter when you find you are you are burning in a house. The African saying says you put your head everywhere, and we realize that today, even if you talk to one single politician, this one can communicate. So we need to play an advocacy role, and I find that maybe we can cover it here. That for every academic, it is our responsibility to be active advocates and lobbyists to that if we have to achieve these. Otherwise, that's my contribution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Still under that broad responsibility that we have beyond the confines of the academy. So thank you for that observation. We are done. I've noted you. I'll come back to you. We are done with reviewing chapter by chapter. And before I close this, is there anybody who has something on a specific chapter, not a general observation, that you want to maybe it occurred to you as we went along, not whilst we were going through section by section? Is there anybody who has a burning issue to raise? Yes, Federico? No, microphone for translation, interpretation.
Thank you, sorry. Chapter 6, relationship with other intellectual communities. I noticed that it says, such as operating in various arenas, such as media, politics, arts, and culture, and non-government and private sectors. Why not government? Why not include government, non-government? I think the dialogue with governments, with the understanding that it can be dangerous, but It's just, why not include governments there? As there are intellectual communities inside governments which should be engaged.
Okay, thank you very much, Federico. I think that is well noted. There was somebody in the middle there. Yeah, right behind you. Please.
Thank you very much. Actually, I accord with what he said. I wanted to say it earlier, so that we need to recognize also, if we are recognizing the non-government organizations, we should also recognize the government as a key player in this propagating the intellectual freedom. But I wanted to highlight more on the conceptualizations, the definition actually, when we talk about African intellectual. I'm trying to look throughout the article, the way we define. I see we have the Africans working in African universities. We have the people outside Africa working in African universities. And also we have Africans working outside the continent. So I wanted us to be somehow very clear. When we refer to African intellectuals, what are we referring to exactly? And in connection to the definitions, the Nigerian presentation, where the differences between the intellectuals and academics, so you see the contradictions. And even when at some point we are not even subscribing to the same vision, we are the Africans, but we have several extremes. So I look at when we are deliberating, we should not take this definition for granted. We have to be very much analytical and agree on when we call an African intellectual, what are we referring to exactly? In theory, but also in practice.
Okay, thank you very much. Well noted. I'm sure there will be attention to definitions in the final version. Moshid?
Moi, je voulais juste soutenir l'idée de Federico. Et d'ailleurs, je l'avais intégré dans mon document écrit. C'est rappeler l'obligation de l'État. Déjà dans la déclaration de 1990, il y avait un chapitre réservé aux obligations d'État. Mais là, je propose que l'on parle de nouvelles missions, nouvelles obligations d'État, notamment par rapport au financement urgent. Si vous prenez le Soudan, les universités sont dans un état lamentable. Là où il y a des crises, je propose à ce qu'il y ait des actions d'urgence, financement d'urgence, protection pendant la durée de conflit. Et ce n'est pas uniquement conflit armé, ça peut être aussi lié aux catastrophes naturelles, au changement climatique. Parmi les éléments aussi que l'on peut intégrer, l'obligation de l'État de garantir l'accès à Internet, qu'il n'y ait pas de coupure. Ça, on ne l'a pas dans le papier. Et l'obligation de garantir des conditions de vie décentes pour les intellectuels, que ce soit au niveau des universités ou ailleurs, pour que les intellectuels puissent jouer leur rôle et assumer leurs responsabilités dans les meilleures conditions. Et on a de toute façon d'autres éléments que l'on peut intégrer dans ce chapitre dédié exclusivement aux nouvelles obligations de l'État. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, c'est bien noté. Quelque chose sur l'obligation de l'État dans un contexte de changement et des circonstances particulières qui pourraient arriver. OK. Federico?
Sorry, I'm keeping everybody being picky. Chapter 5, donor domination. Article 828 says African intellectuals must collectively and severely seek autonomous local sources of funding and must explore the development of foundations as to reduce dependence. I think this is just a reflection here. I don't know if this is discussed by the committee, but doesn't that introduce an element of competition amongst and between intellectuals? So maybe a suggestion to, in addition to that, seek autonomous sources of funding, but also be alert for solidarity and collaboration. Sometimes there is when seeking or considering to accept donations from outside of the continent or from inside the continent, always have in mind collaboration with other intellectual communities in the continent, with other institutions, other disciplines, other intellectuals, because that's part of the neoliberal, the divisive neoliberal logic, is that go be an entrepreneur, go look for funding on your own, and that generates competition, right? So anyways, it's a...
Thank you, Federico. It's the phrasing that makes it sound like that, but I think the spirit was what you captured. It will be in the edited, formatted version. It will be straightened out. Zubairu.
You already captured it, but I think maybe add something to it, but I want it to remain like that. Because to say reduce dependence, it's not a bad thing. It should be there.
Okay, thank you. Well noted. Yeah. Microphone to the...
Sorry, very small suggestion in Article A32, Chapter 7. I think it can be said in a more positive way. I suggest saying African intellectuals have a vital role to play in promoting gender equality and equity and fostering a society free of verbal and not only combat, but also promote more gender equality. This is what I suggest.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to close it with the last one, Amy, and then I'll close it at that so that we can move on.
I just wanted to return to the donor dependency part of the annex. I understand some comments on this have already been made, and we're not returning to those comments, but I just wanted to note that we've entered into basically the end of aid, right? And so I just wanted to emphasize that section really needs to think very carefully about the financing of higher education in terms of domestic resource mobilization, because the question of donor domination is going to go out of the window very soon. I think for a lot of different spaces. Yeah.
Okay, that's a possible scenario. And it might be, Nimi, that in the end, it will simply be reshuffled from certain kinds of donors to new forms of donors without the logic of domination being completely changed. I'd like to thank you very, very much for your participation. I know Kwadu has a general comment, but let me do some exercise. I really have to, yeah. You have heard and you have followed the framework that has been developed by the committee and presented. And I would like this to be adopted before we close. So if I can get a motion for adoption of this, and as I explained, it is going to go from here back to the executive committee and from the committee to the General Assembly of Codensria. Not everybody who is here is a member of Codensria, but this forms an important part of the consultative process with the broader community, which we're undertaking. So please give me a motion to adopt this And I hope we will do it by unanimity and consensus. Mariam.
Je pense que ce document est vraiment très bien fait et ce document reflète notre idée et notre esprit. Je pense que ce document a été correctement proposé et nous l'avons discuté de long en large. Et je vous propose d'adopter unanimement ce document à soumettre à la prochaine Assemblée générale. Si vous êtes d'accord avec cette proposition, vous devez applaudir très fortement. Fortement, j'ai dit. Et tout le monde doit applaudir. Adopté à l'unanimité par acclamation.
Merci.
That is a woman way to acknowledge something.
Merci, merci beaucoup, Marima. Merci pour cette motion d'adoption, mais on doit suivre les formalités. So I'd like to see if there's anybody seconding or if there is a group of people who are seconding. Okay, so let me start with Carlos. Let's share your Carlos Cardoso.
Moi, c'était juste pour appuyer la proposition d'adoption de ce document. Je pense il a tout un processus qui est derrière cette proposition. Et on a discuté, on a donné l'opportunité à chacun et à chacune de se manifester. Donc, j'appuie la proposition de Mariama pour la forme.
Thank you very much, Carlos. Seconded, Doyin, Professor Doyin.
Then my voice positively to move the motion for it.
Okay, thank you very much, Shekuna Sise.
En fait, je prends aussi la parole en tant que membre du comité scientifique du Commissariat et qui a eu le temps aussi de lire cette nouvelle proposition d'annexe au texte de Kampala qui date quand même depuis 90. L'exercice a été lui-même transparent. S'il y avait des voix discordantes par rapport au texte, on l'aurait su, mais ça a été discuté en plénière. Je n'ai pas vu de voix discordantes contre l'annexe. Je pense qu'en toute logique, on doit pouvoir l'adopter et puis passer à autre chose, notamment lors de l'Assemblée générale qui aura lieu l'année prochaine.
Merci beaucoup, Shekuna. Kobu George.
Mais je vois que tu me donnes encore le micro alors que j'ai déjà parlé comme les économistes de dire qu'il faut adapter exponentiellement cette... Bon, vraiment, quand un travail est bien fait et que je vois que c'est un travail très minutieux, quand je regarde l'équipe qui a d'abord essayé de faire le travail préalable, c'est une équipe d'une compétence avérée et donc on ne peut pas douter que l'éclairage n'a pas été suffisant. Aussi, vraiment, encore une fois de plus, je voudrais que nous adoptions fortement cette annexe de la déclaration de Kampala. Merci beaucoup.
Okay, Kudus, I'll take that as the last.
Yes, thank you, everyone. I just want to add from the view of emergent generation of Codestria community members, you know, that to witness this process and to say in years from now that we were also here, you know, and I speak for my colleagues here and some who are all over the continent, that we witness this process, the consensus building that led to it, and then to also say that second the adoption of these annex to the Kampala Declaration.
Thank you very much, Kudus. Thank you for speaking for the next generation. Appreciate that. Sorry. Okay, Generation Z. Thank you very much. So this annex to the Kampala Declaration has been adopted on this second day of May, 2025. And I would like to thank you all for your input into this process. Our job is not yet done, but before I call on Kwado, I would also like you to prepare some of your thoughts, which some of you contributed online on modalities of implementation, which came up quite a bit in the discussions that we had. We'll devote maybe some 10, 15 minutes to harvesting ideas in plenary, even though, as I said, some have put proposals in writing, particularly on the question of monitoring of the declaration. But before I call on you, Kwado, may I also invite you to please unanimously, collectively thank Professor Issa Shivji and his committee for the fantastic work that you have done. Thank you very much. Yeah, maybe the committee members is inviting so that members could see you again.
Puisque le comité est si compétent, il faudra lui confier le destin de l'Afrique sous la houlette du professeur Issa Shivji.
So these are the core members of the committee. From the far left is Mshai Wangola, member of the Executive Committee of Codestria, who participated fully in an observer status. The president of Codestria, Lynn Osome, who was also present at the deliberations of the committee to follow Professor Jimmy Adeshina, former Executive Committee member, Professor Josephine Ayikire, former Dean at Makerere, former Director of Center for Basic Research, amongst other formers who also was present, former minister, former minister in the Republic of Senegal, advisor to the presidency of Senegal, long-term member of Codestria, professor of history, Pendambo, and finally the chair of the committee, Professor Issa Shivji. And thank you very much, colleagues. The next assignment will be to solve Africa's okay. I would like to move on to a short discussion on modalities, which seems to exercise a lot of us during the course of the last few days. How do we implement? It's one thing to have the broad guidelines of what is expected of us as intellectuals, but how do we proceed to implementation? Before I do that, I promise that I'll call Kwado to come in and say a few words of a general nature, you said. So please, Kwado.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I think that I have a little concern about our objection to the procedure, because I think I should have been given the opportunity to make my general comments before the adoption. That is not to say I don't like the document. It's a very good document, and I commend the committee for doing a fantastic job, and I endorse the adoption. But in terms of procedure, I want to share a few comments. First is on the fact that the document is an intellectual document on intellectual freedom and social responsibilities, but I don't see references to freedoms in the document. I think that is very important. Otherwise, we are saying that we don't see, we have captured enough of the freedoms in the Kampala Declaration. But I think there are some gaps which should have been reflected in the annex. So if we can take note of that. And that connects with the fact that the document should reflect who are the rights holders and the duty bearers. Everything is consigned to responsibilities of the academic community, academics, and so on. But there has to be a place for who are the rights holders and the duty bearers, so that we can draw the relationship. If one has a right, another has a duty, so that we can link the rights or the freedoms to the duties appropriately. And so I think that if we can bring that in, for example, to identify the fact that we need to recognize students' right to academic freedom, for example. The state is also not mentioned as a duty bearer. And so these are some issues which I thought should be reflected in the document. Two more points. The document talks about fighting for gender rights and against misogyny. But what about gender within academia itself? I don't think that is reflected. So it's as if the intellectuals are all males, that's how I understand it, fighting for women who are suppressed or misplaced. But I think that within academia itself, we know that there's a gender discrimination there, but that is not reflected in the document. Same with disability and others. That's also a challenge we have in academia. Finally, probably the element of higher education and academic freedom itself in the preamble, if it can also be reflected. There's a good background on political economy and so on, but how do we connect it to higher education and the problems we have in higher education on the continent, and how that raises some of the intellectual freedom issues that we want to address. And finally, if we can have an interpretation section to explain some of the keywords in there, I think that may also be helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kwado. Actually, the points you raised, because you said it was general observations you had, was why I wanted to finish the chapter by chapter review. But actually, some of the points you raised would have been raised under each of the chapters as we went along. So it wasn't a procedural issue in that sense. And I think some of those points were also raised online. I don't know if there were no names to the online comments and edits that were proposed, but some of them were raised and will be adequately taken on board in the final version that will be proposed. The one area where maybe I think there's a misinterpretation is with regard to gender, because actually my own reading is that it's a call to the academy to address the issues within the academy itself, and not simply to treat it as though it was an external problem, alien to what the academy does. But very useful comments. Thank you very much. And I'm glad that you also join in proposing the adoption of the document. Thank you. Shall we now move on to thoughts that any of you may have on implementation modalities. And you remember the AAU Secretary General bridged upon this. Several other colleagues in their presentations also did. Two eager people in front of me, so please go ahead.
Thank you very much. So I'm also really so excited, and that's why I'm so eager to be sure I speak before him. In terms of execution, I think that's where we always have the problem. We talk the talk, but then to execute is always a big problem. To want to start this, I want to propose working first with the National Universities Union across the continent. All the conversations around what is taught and how it's taught usually emanates from some of our colleagues recommending things through them. So I think we have to, part of governance, but we still have to think about them as a unique group of people that we need to work with. Secondly, will be the unions, the academic unions, the leadership of the academic unions across the continent, and if possible, across institutions, specific institutions that we know that lead the thoughts and conversations around implementing some of these things, such that we can have results faster. I was really shocked this morning when I heard someone say it will take 25 years for whatever we discuss here to get out there. That's scary. So I want to appeal that we make sure that this gets out like in the next 1 month. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think that's very interesting. I think whenever we develop policies, the next level is policy communication. We need to communicate this document. Once we have signed it, then we must think of how to communicate. And the communication can start with one, we can move universities. Number one, we have now, thanks to the internet, we can lobby and we get a page for it to be put in every page. And specifically, strategically in the policy documents for the universities. Then we can get it to the university bodies, Senate Council, to talk to them. And then we lobby them to see how they can even communicate to through the Vice Chancellor's forums. Yes, in Uganda, I think we have the Vice Chancellor Forum. They meet regularly. And then, and even on the web page for National Council for Education, I think those are some of the areas where we can communicate and put this document. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Somebody at the back.
Thank you. I'm Emmanuel from Ghana. I would also like to speak to the fact that I'm happy that we've been able to adopt this document, and also to add that many of our higher education institutions were established before regulatory bodies came into being on the continent to regulate how higher education institutions operate. So I would want to know, going forward, how would the annex cater to how the regulatory bodies are operating in the higher education space to promote academic freedom on the continent? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll come to you. Let me go to Egypt.
In addition to all the implementation ideas, I just want to suggest, now we're having the online website. Why not to make it like a course, like the UN courses, each module and questions, and then the academics who finish it, you can have a certified point. I think that to make more interesting for this, if it is just presented as a course with a certificate from Codeslia, it will be more exposed.
Yeah.
I think.
Thank you very much for training opportunities. Yes, UNESCO, Barak.
Yes, thank you. I was not sure in which capacity I should be standing in front of you to make reference to that document. But I believe already that this is a very good development, and it's a timely one. And as we are speaking about the promotion, in as much as we want to promote the annex, many don't know about the declaration itself. So this should be in tandem, I believe. And from where I see it, and there was a dimension on institutional collaboration, kind of, because a lot has been said about who are the duty bearer and the like vis-a-vis this document. And at UNESCO, we have a recommendation on science and scientific researchers. When you go to the content of it, it's all about the enabling environment for science to thrive. So, but it will be for you to know what is the best way. That document is already an obligation to member states to report and to meet with the standard. So is there a way to support the implementation of the declaration to connect it in some way with the recommendation? I'm just asking, but it's for you to check and to see if that is a valid way to consider and to support mutually, because the recommendation from UNESCO also has its own limitation, while you also have some strength in what you bring with the declaration. So yeah, just mentioning that. The same way as there are many other documents, from some presentation, they mentioned the recommendation on the status of researchers of 1997. So they speak to each other, and is to see the best intelligence to ensure that you are not reinventing the wheel when you are looking into how to commit the member state, because the declaration is doing that already. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. It's well noted. Yeah. The SGAA.
On our part as AU, I will be glad to see us using our communication channels to promote it.
Fantastic.
And I also want to propose that AAU and Codestra should organize webinars for African university leadership based on this document.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very, very much indeed. Very well taken. And final input. So I see, okay, Marima.
Ce n'est pas un nouvel input. Je pense que c'est très important pour le Codesria, qui a toujours cherché à influencer ce qui se passe dans son État, dans nos États. Mais au-delà de nos États, le Codesria cherche aussi à influencer ce qui se passe ailleurs. Parce que dans la section sur les partenariats, je pense qu'on doit dire aussi explicitement nos partenariats avec les personnes qui se battent dans d'autres régions sur les libertés académiques. Donc, je pense que le webinaire peut être organisé multilatéralement ou bilatéralement entre Codesria et EU, mais entre Codesria aussi et UNESCO, et entre Codesria, EU, UNESCO et d'autres institutions comme ECOWAS, comme les organisations sous-régionales. Parce que c'est peut-être une bonne façon d'engager nos États au sommet et d'engager officiellement avec les universités publiques et privées, parce que les universités privées sont aussi régies par la législation nationale.
Très bien, merci beaucoup. Kwado.
On behalf of Africa Coalition for Academic Freedom, we also express a strong interest in supporting Codesria and ensuring implementation of this all-important document. We've already done some initial consultations, and we hope to build on that. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Edigage. You paused.
Thank you. I will propose that first, when we leave here, I'm sure the Secretariat will be doing that already, to develop a comprehensive monitoring and implementation framework And in doing that, they should be thinking of concrete indicators that will be part of what should be monitored. So over time, we can begin to have our own data that we will generate rather than depending on other agency. So that's my contribution.
Thank you very much. I'll take that as the very, very, very final. Yes.
Yes. I just wanted to ask maybe the host institution, which is University of Dar es Salaam, to tell a little bit how they want to be the first one as host to maybe put this on the website of University of Dar es Salaam and how they want to show that into this higher education community. That would be great to see the host institution be the first one to publicize this annex. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. It's well noted. I can't see Kamata in the room. Our Kamata is sitting somewhere there. Okay.
I didn't hear the question. Can you say it to me?
It's not actually a question. I was just suggesting that as a host institution, and I think we all have appreciated that University of Dar es Salaam being the host of this conference. I was just saying maybe as a host institution, the university should be the first one to promote this annex and find ways to make this annex very visible to all faculty, everyone in this university. That was my suggestion.
Accepted.
Thank you very much. I would like to invite all of us to also please appreciate Kamata. He's been really a central part of the work of the committee, but also of the organization of this meeting. And let me also recognize the immediate past Vice Chancellor of the university, who is our professional colleague, political scientist. Most of you will know Rekazi Mukandala. Okay, I think I was going to close, but okay, just have a seat.
Thank you very much. I would like to also propose periodic surveys on this particular issue that will sort of cover the entire continent so that we can, from time to time, track the state of academic freedom as we go along. And HSRC will be happy to provide that service.
Okay, great. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, Federico, you are writing a check or what?
Maybe. On modalities of implementation, maybe one thing to add. Academic freedom is not only a value for scientists, but for the arts and sciences. And one important modality of implementation, what's been done here is quite historic. You don't need me to say that. But it's festivals and arts and sharing that with the wider community, what is being discussed in ways that are not merely superficial or ludic, but include the arts to represent. And what we're celebrating with academic freedom is actually forms of expression. And I think that's important, and it's a very effective and powerful way also of as a modality of implementation. And congratulations.
Thank you very much. Professor Shivji, you had some words to say.
Thank you very much for all your suggestions, because it is part of the mandate of the committee to make recommendations into how do we take forward this document. But because we may not meet some of you at the General Assembly, let me say that whether this document is going to be a living document or is going to be stored in the archives depends a lot on us, we, as individuals here and in our collectives. Because we can use this document as an instrument of, as a tool of pedagogy. We can teach it in our classrooms. We can hold seminars on it. We can have symposium on it. And since it is going to be in different languages, we can in fact send it far and wide in other organizations, including trade unions and so on and so forth. Because in some cases, our national circumstances do not allow us to talk about these things. But this is a Pan-African document. So I think under that umbrella, we can use this for our discussions. And Godwin will correct me if I'm wrong. When the Kampala Declaration was adopted, it was sent to the OAU and adopted as officially as a document. So this document is officially a Kampala Declaration adopted by OAU. Okay, so I think these are some of the ways we can take it forward. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. I think we've come to the end of this session, but I'll still encourage you to remain seated for the very last segment, which is the closing, official closing of the conference. Thank you for your input and for your cooperation.
Our next session is closing remarks from the Executive Secretary of Codestria, Godwin Murunga, followed by Mwanza Kamata, who will represent the principal of the College of Social Sciences. Godwin?
Thank you very much, Shangwe, for doing a good job today, keeping us on time. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I must say that when we started having discussion about this particular meeting, I wasn't too sure how it was going to pan out. But I can say today that I think on behalf of the Executive Committee of Codestria, the Secretariat, and my own behalf, I think we are satisfied that you have helped us acquit ourselves very admirably in relation to the project on academic freedom in Africa. So I want to first of all begin by thanking all of you for taking the time out of your extremely busy schedules to come to a rainy Dar es Salaam and to spend 4 days with us. Under normal circumstances, Codestria conferences would go for 3 days, but you've been patient with us, and we've been able to accomplish this task in a manner that befits the objectives that we set out for us. Except for this mosquito, which is disturbing me, I have nothing else to complain about. I think what you have done for the Secretariat and for the Codestria community in particular has been to demonstrate that when it comes to matters academic or intellectual freedom, that Codestria remains in the lead, mobilizing the whole continent to begin to think about such a pressing matter that otherwise would be ignored by very many other players on the continent. When we started planning for this particular conference, we understood that historically Codestria does not engage in programs like this one as a single player, just doing it as if there are no other players on the horizon. We tried to mobilize several institutions to be a part of the work we are doing on this. I am glad that we were able to get the AAU to be with us today. I'm happy that we were able to get the HSRC to be with us today. I was able to get Scholars at Risk, who do quite a bit of work in Africa and elsewhere to be with us today. We had other solidarity messages from the African Studies Association of Africa, for instance, the East African Kiswahili Commission, and all the other partners, UNESCO, who are with us today. And I just want to begin by thanking you most sincerely for supporting the work that we've been able to accomplish up to this point. So I would like us to applaud the organizations that have partnered with us. I am reminded that before we got to Dar es Salaam, we had several pilot projects that we engaged in order to mobilize the thinking that we brought to Dar es Salaam. Initially here at the University of Dar es Salaam, in Eduardo Mondlane in Mozambique, and a few other engagements that we had. I was able to participate in a series of engagements with the Arab Council for the Social Sciences, which is based in Beirut. And together, I feel that we begin to develop a long-term agenda around the issue of academic freedom that will most certainly outlive most of us. And so I want to say that it is the commitment of Codesria, the commitment of the Secretariat and the Executive Committee, that this is not going to be a short-term project. It definitely has to be a long-term project that Codesria is going to lead. In doing so, I think a decision has already been made that it won't just be a Codesria academic freedom project on its own. It's going to be entrenched centrally in all the activities that Codesria is going to do. So on an annual basis, for every annual budget of Codesria, there will be a set of commitments and engagements around academic freedom. The reason we want to do this is because we understand that academic freedom is important, but we also understand that it links up with a whole range of other important issues. There was a discussion here about the possibility of developing a curriculum under this. This has already actually been taken on board. And one of the plans that we have starting next year is going to be to run a series of methodology trainings across the continent, and maybe even expand this beyond simply being a one-off thing, to be a long-term engagement of the council. And we've already made plans that we won't be doing them at a country level. We won't be doing them necessarily at a Pan-African level on an annual basis, but we're going to do them on an annual basis at regional levels. And we're going to make sure that year and the following year. My hope is that the council will be able to mobilize this as a central agenda for everything that we are going to do. I want to also make the point that we do not come into this to be the single player or dancer in the field. We're hoping that we'll have many other dancers in the field. Of course, we have already had the proposals and commitments from sister partner institutions that will join us, and Codesria takes this very seriously. We'll be reaching out to these institutions to discuss modalities of doing this. But there is a mutuality, a spirit of mutuality that we want to place at the center of this. Bio and Brima, my predecessor, will tell you that a core commitment of Codesria has historically been to support the growth and expansion of sister institutions on the continent. Anyone who sits in my office in Dhaka and you peruse through the files, you will find Codesria imprint in many of the institutions that have been on the continent around the social sciences and humanities. And we've reached a point where we do not worry too much about the distinction between the social sciences and humanities anymore. Both are our community, and we mobilize them in a manner that befits what we understand that the knowledge we produce ought to speak to. So in relation to the point, for instance, that Federico is making, I think this is something that is taken for granted. Mwalimu Issa Shivji will tell you that when he was the chair, Mwalimu Nyerere chair here in the University of Dar es Salaam, and he used to run a festival. Codesria was at the heart of it. And it was not a festival to find useful conceptual theoretical frameworks to study the economy. It was a festival, a celebration of the everyday lives of people on the continent. And I think this is the spirit in which we are going to continue. My way of saying, therefore, that we are at home and that we are taking the inheritance that the University of Dar es Salaam gave us. And we are going to make sure that even if the biggest root of this baobab tree on academic freedom is here in Dar es Salaam, it's going to sprout across the continent. And CODESRI is going to help mobilize this particular agenda in a way perhaps that some of us will not be able to imagine today. It's a commitment that we can make, and it's a commitment that we would like to be judged on in future. Of course, elements of monitoring, elements of tracking and all that are going to be integral to this. Fortunately for us, we already have a very rich archive in CODESRI. The Council has exercised a leadership on this matter that perhaps we are not too aware of, and therefore we do not celebrate it. The academic freedom agenda in Africa is largely driven by initiatives from Dar es Salaam spreading across the continent. We do receive, of course, and accept donor funding, but the agenda itself, it's ours. And we've protected that, and I hope that we are going to continue protecting that, because the more we protect that, the better for us to exercise that freedom that we have ingrained in the annex and that was explained in the Kampala Declaration. So I want to thank you all for making this possible, for making those of us who work in the Secretariat feel very proud that this is a thing that has to be done. And I want, therefore, to conclude by expressing my gratitude to a number of people. Professor Issa Shivji, thank you very much for accepting to take this agenda forward. The committee that worked with you, I haven't seen any reason why I would doubt the capacity of this committee to deliver on this project. And your mandate does not end here. Your mandate actually begins with this meeting. So we're going to be carrying on a lot of the issues and ideas that have been raised going forward. I want to thank the University of Dar es Salaam for hosting us, and for hosting us in an atmosphere where we did not feel that we cannot use the word academic freedom. Yeah, I am not too sure how many of us are aware that there are places in this world today where you cannot say the word academic freedom. 2 months ago, I attended a meeting somewhere, I won't say where it is, and it was titled Safeguarding Knowledge. The content of the discussion was academic and intellectual freedom, but the title of the meeting had to be carefully crafted because they could not find a venue, a country that could host them and have a discussion about academic freedom. So I think that the University of Dar es Salaam, I want to thank the university very sincerely, the government of the United Republic of Tanzania for allowing us and enabling us to do this work. In particular, at the University of Dar es Salaam, I will extend my gratitude first to the leadership of the university, but more specifically to the principal of the college, Professor Nue, who I don't think she's around. But the real foot soldiers for this work were led by Ndugu Kamata, whom we have. He likes sitting at the back. He's sitting there together with Muhyiddin Shangwe, and I can't see if Richard is in the room. Richard is right there. And I know that there was a bigger team mobilized to make sure that we are here in comfortable way. I want you to extend our gratitude on behalf of the team that is seated here to those colleagues for the work they have done to help us facilitate this work. And I think they deserve an applause. Let me also extend my gratitude to a few members of the executive committee of CODESRI who are here. Of course, Lina Osome, she has had to leave to go to the airport because she's traveling later this evening. Aloale Isaac is sitting right there. He's the chair of the subcommittee on governance of the executive committee. and Shai Mwangola, who is the chair of the subcommittee on programs of the executive committee. And together with them, I think we have three other executive committee members. Jack Shibabwa is here. Ayemi Lawani is there. And of course, the Vice President Ibrahim El Moshid, who chaired the first plenary session. Thank you very much for creating the time to join us for this. The relationship between the CODESRIA Secretariat and the Executive Committee is the most interesting arrangement I have had. When they come for a meeting like this, they are not my bosses. But when they come for an executive committee meeting, they are my bosses. And we all keep that relationship in a collegial way. And I really want to thank you for doing this. Some colleagues came as members of the scientific committee, but also as members of the committee, ad hoc members of the committee that was drafting the annex. Professor Adebayo Lukoshi, right here. Marema Ture, right there. Nasozi Mwanga, right there. And I'm trying to figure out who else is a member of the CODESRIA Scientific Committee. John Christophe Bangu Bazika from Congo. Thank you very much for agreeing to join this particular gathering. Colleagues, you will notice that the idea here is to mobilize all the instruments of CODESRIA so that by the time we take this to the General Assembly, we have done all the necessary consultations that we need. Many other members of the community who are here who otherwise would have chosen not to be here. Former Vice President of CODESRIA, George Kobo, is certainly a notable person to mention. And I'm trying to see if there is anybody else. Teresa Cruz Silva was not able to join us for this particular meeting, but I think she's coming in for a meeting that begins tomorrow. So I want to extend my gratitude to all of them. And of course, my colleagues from Dhaka, from the Secretariat, Samuel Fongwa, right there. I don't know if they know you, so maybe it makes sense to show you a face. I have Samuel Fongwa and Betha Kibona. Betha is right there. They are centrally involved in issues to do with higher education that we mobilized in the Secretariat, and they were the heart of planning for this. I don't know if Gladys is in the room. I don't think she is, but I suspect most of you have met Gladys by now. So I want to extend my gratitude to her for all this. Then we have a few additional people. Basiru One, he's the one who is making us look at this screen because he's receiving the signal from the cameras and projecting them. He's right there. I don't want to ask him to stand up because he's very tall. Hadi Job, Hadi is right there. Hadi, we need to, we can see your face. Hadi Job. She's in the research program, and one of our colleagues who works with Samuel and Betha was unable to travel because it has been a year since she's been waiting for her passport from the immigration office from her country. She couldn't come. Dominique Sambo. So in absentia, we also want to appreciate the work of Dominique in all this. And of course, many of you have interacted with the name Mariam Lee. I think the ticketing, so I want to appreciate the contribution of Mariam to this. And of course, finally, Sheila Gitonga, who is trying to hide, thinking I will forget. Sheila is a program manager in my office, and we have been very useful in mobilizing all of us into this particular meeting. So I want to thank you very much for the work you have done to make this a reality. Of course, I will conclude with thanking the interpreters, all of whom have done an excellent job. I do not think that there is any one of you who has listened to everything that has been said since we started than them. So I want to thank you very much for the work you did. And I was pleasantly surprised that each time I hooked into the Kiswahili channel, I understood things much better than in the English version. So thank you for an excellent job, all of you, and all the very best. Otherwise, I will close there and just wish you safe travels back to your destinations. We definitely are not going to wait for 20 or for 25 years doing. We're going to try and reduce the month by a few days. So we'll be reaching out to you. We'll be trying to mobilize you in different ways. And of course, we are also going to grow the archive of people who are involved in the Codestri Academic Freedom Project. And we hope that at the end of the day, we won't be accused of having met in Dar es Salaam simply to have a talk show, but really we'll have begun the journey of mobilizing our work, both at the intellectual level, but also at the policy levels, to see what change we can achieve in this field. Thank you very much, and all the very best to you.
Kamata, please.
Habari za jioni. I think you should switch on your receivers, because I'm not sure which language I'm going to use. So the interpreters will figure out. Sorry. Kwanza kabisa ninaomba kutoa shukrani zangu za dhati kabisa. Nianze na Codestria. Na Codestria kwa sababu mwezi wa sikumbuki, mwaka jana mwezi wa 4, April last year, Codestria waliuliza tunaweza tukafanya mkutano Dar es Salaam on academic freedom, na jibu lilikuwa ndio, inawezekana. Lakini kwa nini swali hilo liliulizwa? Liliulizwa kwa sababu mwezi wa 4 mwaka 2025 ni mwaka wa uchaguzi. Na mwaka wa uchaguzi mambo mengi huweza kupata tafsiri tofauti na kufanya mambo ya kawaida kuonekana magumu. Lakini tukatoa assurance kwamba inawezekana kufanya mkutano on academic freedom Tanzania. Ini swali lingine likawa tunaweza tukafanyia campus, na jibu lilikuwa ndio, tunaweza tukafanyia campus. And then a decision was made that this particular conference will take place here at not only in Tanzania, but at the University of Dar es Salaam. We are happy to accept the decision and to host this conference. Lakini kukubali kwetu na furaha yetu inakuja na wajibu na majukumu makubwa. It's a great responsibility to make things happen on a university campus of the University of Dar es Salaam, a university in Africa, a university which is under-resourced like many other universities in Africa, I guess. But we accepted, and we were prepared to take the challenge, which I hope we have managed to take it. So on that, we have no regrets. and you are not apologizing for anything that you didn't feel good about. Because a decision to have a conference like this on a university campus in any, I'm not sure, but I think in many African universities is a great decision. And to me, I think the significance of that decision is that we have decided not to run away from our conditions. We have decided to have this meeting, this conference on campus, whatever the conditions that we have. I thought, and I said I would share this with you, when we had the conference the first day on Nkrumah Hall, a few guys, French-speaking, who have noticed that I'm central to the organizing committee, and they'll come and say, Kamata, say toilet. So I said, yeah, that's a reality. But the reality you're experiencing is a reality which has been made better to host you. I don't know if I'm making, like we have a Swahili adage, yeah? Mgeni njoo, mwenyeji apone. Kwa hivyo mgeni anapokuja, wakati mwingine, sijui kama wataipata vizuri, wakati mwingine ili kumhudumia mgeni vizuri, unaacha kitanda chako ili mgeni alale. Wakati mwingine unatumia kila ulicho nacho ili mgeni akija ale vizuri. Na vizuri inaweza isifanane na kule mgeni anapotoka, lakini vizuri kuliko katika mazoea yako ya kila siku. And that's what we have tried to do. Mkutano huu ungeweza kufanyika Dar es Salaam kwenye hoteli kubwa, na nyote msingeona mvua, nyote msingeona harufu ya vyoo vyetu vinavyobadilika na kuwa nzuri na kuwa mbaya, lakini you had the experience to feel the reality of one of the oldest post-independence university in the University of Dar es Salaam. And I think to me that's very important. And that's one of the lessons that I would like us in Codestria to take. Try to organize conferences if we go to any country and it's hosting a meeting of Codestria to happen in a university campus. It reminds us of our conditions, which sometimes we get used to and we don't think that they are a problem. And we can collectively confront them and push for them to be changed. Asante sana kwa hilo. But I also wanted to say that on campus, we have, I don't know whether I can say a better hall than in Nkrumah Hall, but we have a new auditorium, a big one, posh. But the decision was made. I think we met here in, was it January? Codestria was here, and a few of Codestria staff with me and Shangwe went around the halls. We came here, we went to Nkrumah Hall. We had the meeting at the library. There is an audition room. I remember, where is my sister? Elonella, she's not here. She was complaining the chairs, you know, they are very hard and tough, and she was complaining. And we said, okay, we'll have this meeting for symbolic and historical purpose in Nkrumah. Nkrumah Hall has a very significant historical memories to many of the people here. Many of some major decisions, resolutions were taken in Nkrumah Hall. You are talking about the students' protests. when we were students. Issa, I don't know whether Nkrumah Hall was there by that time. Professor Mkandala, I think it was there, 1970s, yeah. Nkrumah Hall was there. When I was a student, Nkrumah Hall was there. And it was very close to the university management. So when we have student extension, what we called extended barazas, student barazas. So we march to the management, pressurize them, and they will come to Nkrumah Hall, they go back to the offices, they will surround the offices, they will be meeting here. This was the council chamber, the council will be called for an emergency meeting, will surround so this was a main center of activism. And Nkrumah Hall was the center where discussions were made. And we thought that it was the right and befitting place to have this conference. And we wanted it for all the days. But again, it was not possible because it is a lecture room. And with the day we were holding the meeting there, classes had to be cancelled. And for that, we thank the University of Dar es Salaam and the students whose classes were cancelled to enable us to have the conference in Nkrumah Hall. Now I want to thank my colleagues who have already been thanked by Godwin on behalf of CODESTA, now on behalf of myself and the College of Social Science and the university for committing to hosting this conference and making things run in whatever, in the way that ourselves will be satisfied. Ourselves will be satisfied. And through us, if we are satisfied and you are not satisfied, we gave our all to make sure that this is happening in the best way we could. Shangwe, Rebecca is not here. Sambaika has been, she's there. Unaweza ukasimama mama kidogo wakuone? Yeah, that's them. Richard, and so many others who are not in this hall, who have made this conference to take place, and the services that we have received from people who are giving us food, the interpreters who have enabled us to communicate in a more efficient way, because without communication, there is no revolution. That is the La Via Campesina. They say without communication, there is no revolution. There will be just chaos. I also want to thank you very much, those of you who took your time to come to Dar es Salaam with all the hassles that you experience when traveling to an African country. You spend hours at the airport, the immigration department trying to clear you to get in an African country. So that's our problems. But I'm glad that the most of you had a smooth, delayed but smooth, and a few had more difficulties before they were cleared, but at least they made it. We are not apologizing for that, but this is another reality that we need to confront. The media people, I mean, they have been covering us very well in English and in Kiswahili, and also in the online TV, the local TV. So at least the public that is interested in what we are doing here is informed of what is happening here. Umekuwa mkutano, na I'm going switching to Kiswahili. Umekuwa mkutano mrefu wa siku 4 na saa nyingi. Na kwa sababu hiyo umekunyimeni fursa ya kutujua zaidi nje ya huu mkutano. You didn't have much time to explore the city and to know as much and more how we live, how do our streets look like, etc. But at least there is something that you will carry with you as a memory that will not kumbukumbu isiyofutika, something you'll have picked it from this conference and the 4 days that we have been here, that you will remember about Dar es Salaam and the University of Dar es Salaam. And finally, I don't know, it's final, it's about Codestria and us. I've been hearing people talk saying Codestria should do this, Codestria should do that. I'm not talking about the Codestria on behalf of Codestria. I'm talking on behalf of myself as a member of Codestria. Codestria should do that. Codestria should do this. And I think we should also be saying we should be doing this and should be doing that, because it's also our responsibility. Codestria is us. We are sisi, I wanted to say it in Kiswahili, Codestria ni chombo chetu. Sisi sio vyombo vya Codestria. Kwa hivyo kama chombo chetu kina kazi ya kufanya, lakini sisi ndio kifanye kazi tunayoitaka. Na kazi moja wapo ambayo wameifanya kwa ufanisi mzuri mpaka sasa ni kutukutanisha hapa, kutuunganisha na kutushikamanisha, to unite us. And I don't know solidarity, I don't know how do you ukisema unify and solidarity, I don't know what's English. but basically, you know, bringing us together and I think for developing some common understanding. We have our differences in a way we look at things, but there are common things that we share, and those that we share, we need to be able to collectively advance them if they are of a collective interest, and we cannot, in my view, advance them individually and without unity and struggle. Having said that, nirudie kuwashukuru sana, na pindi mtakapokuwa mnarudi majumbani kwenu na nchini kwenu katika bara la Afrika na kwingineko nje ya Afrika, msafiri salama na mfike salama, na mkumbuke kwamba leo tumefanya maamuzi makubwa sana hapa Dar es Salaam yanayohusu mustakabali wetu sisi kama wasomi na wanazuoni wa Afrika. Na makubaliano hayo sisi sote tuliopo katika ukumbi huu tuwe ndio mwanzo wa chachu ya kuyaendeleza kwa wengine ambao hawakufanikiwa kuwepo hapa. Asanteni sana. I spoke as I don't know what's my capacity, lakini nilikuwa kwenye kamati. Now I want to invite Richard Sambaiga briefly azungumze kama principal wa College of Social Sciences. He's the acting principal of the College of Social Sciences. Richard, karibu.
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, our dear delegates and guests. It has been a great pleasure to have you in the past 4 days. And on behalf of the principal of the College of Social Sciences, she asked me to say thank you so much to every one of you, and to also appreciate the support that we have received from Codestria in the partnership, but also to other partners who have been part of this engagement. And because I understand it has been a heavy meeting and conference for the 4 days, I don't want to give an extended speech. I think we are ready to go. And thank you so much. And once again, karibu tena in Tanzania. I wish you all the best as you travel back home. Thank you.
Sorry to come back, but I've just been reminded, Marema, you sent me a document you wanted discussed, but I didn't have any clear instructions. Do you want to speak to it? Can we have a mic for Marema? Can we have a mic for...
Voilà, juste un petit mot. Il y a un document de l'UNESCO qui vous sera transmis certainement dans les prochains jours, dans les prochaines heures peut-être, et qui porte sur la situation de la Palestine. Et donc,
je dois préciser qu'il y a deux choses différentes. Sur la question de la Palestine, je pense qu'au niveau de l'Assemblée générale, nous avions eu un papier, une motion pour dire un point de vue que cela doit cesser. Ça, c'est une première chose. Une deuxième chose, c'est qu'à la dernière réunion qu'on a eue à Malindi avec le Codestria, j'avais interpellé les personnes qui étaient à Malindi sur ce qui se passe au niveau de l'UNESCO. Vous savez qu'il va y avoir l'élection du directeur général de l'UNESCO au mois de octobre-novembre. Et nous avons pensé que sur la question du multilatéralisme, sur la situation actuelle du monde intellectuel, il est important que notre communauté fasse entendre un point de vue. Il y a un document qui est préparé. Nous demanderons au secrétariat de vous le faire parvenir. Chacun sera libre de commenter et de dire son point de vue s'il s'associe à ce statement ou pas. Mais sur la Palestine, je pense que nous devons avoir au moins une entente pour dire hautement et clamer que nous sommes contre ce qui se passe aujourd'hui et que nous devons appeler la communauté internationale à sa responsabilité.
Okay, thank you everyone. And in Swahili, we say poleni sana for the exhausting 4 days of this conference. A polite reminder that when you leave, please leave your devices on the chair and also check your bags just in case you accidentally or mixed up your belongings with yes, Pendo, thank you, Penda. My job is finished. I must say that as one of the members of the organizing committees, we would have liked to have you for a few more days if you like, but honestly, we want you to leave. And please have some safe travels back home and send our regards to your family and loved one at home. Thank you. We have tea. Please go outside for tea. Before you leave, make sure that you have tea outside. Thank you. Someone forget a book. There's a book here. I don't know to who it belongs. It's Respectability. The book titled Respectability. If you forgot a book on your chair, please come and see me.
Appreciate you. So thank you for the work.